What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? And full crew today, so we have Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? And Daniel Acevedo.
The konbanwa, little Japanese heart for you guys. Let's get it going.
So definitely continue to tune in throughout the weeks. Monday, Tuesday are topics. Wednesday discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. Please go back and check out the one with the COO for Black Girls Hack, Rebecca Skeet. It was a really good interview. And then the next one coming up will be Miguel Clark. He's been on the show before. And it's going to be awesome. So definitely tune in. And then Friday's everything else. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. This next article comes from darkreading.com, and it's written by Nathan Eady, or Eddie, E-D-D-Y. So Eady or Eddie. I'm sorry, Nathan. But the title of this one is Lockbit Attack Targets Evolve Bank, Not Federal Reserve. So the reason for that comma and the not Federal Reserve is because it was reported earlier in last week, that the Federal Reserve had been hacked, and there was 33 terabytes of information that was going to be up for grabs. Like they were threatening to expose some embarrassing information, which got widely reported, right? So when this article first came about, not when this article, when that article first came about, we had some of our sleuths on the team here look into it a little bit more, because it was so fantastical, that had happened. Like, wait, did that really happen? And it turns out it was pretty much a hoax, right? Like they were trying to make themselves seem like they had done more than what they had, right? But actually what it was a financial institution headquartered in Arkansas named Evolve Bank that actually got hacked, right? So what was funny about the previous reporting of this is that when they were hacked, it was Lockbit, right? Lockbit was who was taking credit for it. Am I right on that? Correct me on that, guys. Yeah, Lockbit. Yeah. They were negotiating with some type of representative from the Federal Reserve, and they only offered them $50,000, right? Which came off kind of funny. I was like, $50,000 for all that information? Like, when you read it, you're like, what? What's going on here? And then they put a threat out there, and they were like, look, you guys need to get a different negotiator, or in 48 hours, we're releasing some of this data. Well, they got their bluff called, right? Because they didn't come back with another ransom demand, as reported. I haven't seen it reported anywhere. So they were like, we know you don't have what you say you have, and they called them on their BS. But Evolve Bank, which is based in Arkansas, was who actually got hacked by them, and they were already under investigation already for some lax practices when it came to safeguarding information. But everybody, don't worry about this Federal Reserve that nobody really understands being hacked, right, or any information being put out there, right? Which, if I'm being honest, I would have liked to have seen some embarrassing stuff get out there, right? I've heard all the conspiracy theorists, talk about how the Rothschilds run the reserve and all this money just goes into one family and all that, and I'm like, I'm curious if
I believe
it's
it.
true, right? Yes,
I believe it.
You are canceled, Ryan. You are canceled.
I was curious. I was just like, man, that's just something I would be interested to see. But turns out it was a hoax. But Daniel, what's your thoughts on this, man?
No, you made a lot of good points, and yeah, me too. I was like, I'm not rooting for Lockbit, but I would like to peek behind that curtain and see what's actually there. It's kind of crazy, right, man? If you're in Arkansas and you have Evolve Bank, now it's time to like switch banks. Like, you got to pull your money out like yesterday. It's rough. So the feds were, going into their cases for anti-money laundering, risk management, and consumer compliance programming. So pretty much, like, the bank just wasn't functioning at all, like in any capacity of what a bank should be doing. And on top of that, Lockbit hacked them as well. I was reading the articles just like you were saying, Shannon, and I was just kind of like, it's almost too crazy that the Federal Reserve is getting hacked, and I've only seen articles state the 48-hour time frame, and nothing else had come out. And I started Googling like crazy. I was like, oh wait, 2 days has passed, and I didn't see it on any headlines. And then all the articles started just coming out it was fake news, it's a hoax. Evolve Bank is actually the bank that got hit up. So it just goes to show, as a security practitioner, if you deal with a lot of ransomwares, kind of like not biting the bait on first details of, hey, you've been ransomware, even if you have, that comes across your screen, or you're in charge of the servers or that department that has to deal with this kind of stuff. You really need to go into the negotiations of, hey, show me what you need to prove to me what data you actually have, before we're going to go to our playbook and actually go to the next steps of what's going to, push this process forward, right? But besides that, those are my thoughts, especially man, evolve bank, flush it down the toilet and get a new bank, and I'll move it along from there. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, so yeah, definitely switch banks, right? I just I do want to speak though from just kind of my perspective, right? So I've been banking with maybe Federal for a long time, and I mean I've got accounts open with other big banks, right? And just based on just my observation of how their specific interfaces work, right? I feel like they're fairly secure from the identity and access management perspective. We've got they always ask anytime you log into any bank, right? You have multi-factor taken. Is this you? You're logging in, you're checking your bank account, remotely or at the mall or something really quick. They ask you for a multi-factor authentication. Is this actually you logging in because it's recognizing that you're at a different location, it's not the same MAC address, etc. Right? So I feel like many of the big corporations, right, bigger banks, they've got stringent identity and access management controls in place, specifically on the user end, right? Now I haven't banked with a small bank, right? I don't know what their practices are. I don't know how local credit unions even do things, but I imagine they have to follow stringent guidelines regarding cybersecurity. I mean, it's just it's best practices.
Yep.
When we're talking smaller banks or just banks that are not really a bank that does not, or a financial institution that does not take cybersecurity seriously is just, that's just the biggest red flag. That's for people's blind. That's for people's mind. Right? So the article does highlight maintaining stringent identity and access control is a must. But that's on the user end. That's us. On the client. I guess we're the client in this case, on the client side. But internally from those banks, right? If they've got lax implementations for the user, they probably just don't care at all. But about their own, cybersecurity practices internally, at least from the procedural perspective, we want to make sure that that's the case. And there needs to be some type of assurance. So yeah. Definitely, if you've got, I'm not trying to dog small banks, right? I'm not trying to dog, I'm sure there's plenty of them that practice cybersecurity, that have multi-factor authentication out the wazoo, that we're used to. But again, I just think that there needs to be, for us as, consumers, we need to just be informed and make those proper decisions. What do you think?
So first off, that's a crazy flex. Chris said, "I don't bank with small banks because I don't bank with small banks because I only have big money." That's what he said.
Stop it!
Without saying. That's a crazy flex. I don't know those credit unions. What is that? I don't. My money goes straight to the reserve.
Navy Fed is a credit union. They're just huge, though. It's a large number.
Yeah, they're just the largest credit union. I think in the country, right?
It's got to be.
It might be
something like that. Yeah. But yeah, so please like, share, subscribe. If there's a bell involved, please hit that bell. Please subscribe. We're so close, danger close to hitting that 500. It's not going to happen by the end of the month, and that's okay. Let's make it happen in July. Let's hit 500, and then by the end of the year, let's hit 1,000. With all of that out of the way, crazy article. So the people who were spreading the misinformation, that was me. That's who Shannon's referring to, because I dropped the first article.
I didn't say that. I did not. I was
like,
did
you see this?
I did not say that. I saw it, and I was interested. Right, I was interested, but it was other members on the team that were like, "Hey, this is BS." They brought it to the attention of the team. So I never came out and said that, Ryan.
But no, also I want to get out of the way. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I did watch a crazy video on the making of the Fed, and it does have the Rothschilds in it. It's crazy. It's a cartoon. It's actually really funny, but it'll lead you down a rabbit hole. I wish I could see behind the curtain, because I am also interested to see what's going on back there, because it is so shrouded in mystery, right? There's so many myths about the Fed. However, that would have been a humongous breach. It would have been like the biggest breach of all time, where the U.S.'s Federal Reserve was breached in some regard. So I'm glad to see that they were bluffing. Lockbit is trying to escape the grip of the Department of Justice and FBI, but it's not going so hot. they're not long for this world, basically. So they're grasping at straws here. With that being said, though, that Evolve Bank, like you said, it's on its last leg. I probably won't see it next year. They're probably going to be one, because several banks that are going under. This will probably be one of the ones that's going to go under as well. Unfortunately, just the dire consequences of being under investigation and then also being suspect to a breach. I don't know how they survive that. But you can't take it around the banks, which is crazy to me also, like how that works. Like if you try to get your money out of the bank, like if all four of us like had money like Chris, right? And we're trying to get our money out of the bank, they would shut us. They would stop us. They would stop us from being able to retrieve our money in order to secure the assets and then do whatever the FDIC does, et cetera, right? You can't just all remove our money from the banks at the same time because that money's not actually there. It's being used to do other things. It's crazy stuff. So the banking in general just weirds me out.
Bitcoin Chris over here is going to make sure they're all shut down. All little banks are going to be shut down in like 2 weeks after he comes out and railed against them, you know.
Right. He's Nvidia's number one investor, right? Like this dude's a trillionaire over here.
No,
but
I wish.
But yeah, the Fed. So it's good to see that the Fed stands strong in this regard. Also, there's a lot of myths about the Fed, so I just wanted to knock some of those out real quick. So the Fed is audited extensively, so that's a thing. The Fed is not owned by anyone. It's a blend of both private and public type scenario situations. It's 12 banks actually is what makes up the Fed. So there's a lot of stuff, but when you think of the Federal Reserve, you think that it is part of the government. It's not. That's a misnomer. But it works exclusively with the federal government to do what it does. So crazy stuff. I learned a lot.
Isn't the Federal Reserve where they lock people up? That's what Wahlberg thought on the other guys, right? We're going to lock you in the Federal
Reserve. Right, with all the gold. But they also hold very little gold there as well. So I don't know. It's crazy. Like most Americans don't know how all these systems work, to include myself. So I'm just like, when this happened, I started to do my research on the Federal Reserve, not on the validity of the article. So you got to put your time where it belongs. But with all that being said, I'm glad that it was debunked before we pushed it out there. So that's good that we solved it in real time. And again, this is probably Lockbit's third or fourth topic that we've had on the show since their big shutdown. So and again, it's getting smaller and smaller. So they're going the way of Revel. And we talked about them extensively last year and their demise. So the Department of Justice is getting better and better at shutting down these operations. Just unfortunately, they're so easily set back up through mirror sites. So we'll see what the future holds for that one. But definitely continue to tune in. I think that you guys covered this very well. So I don't have much else to add except for random jokes and conspiracies. So what you got, Shannon?
So let me ask you something. So the team, right? Random joke. So do you think maybe like when Lockbit threw this threat out there, right? Do you think the Federal Reserve like went and checked and was like, okay, like all these 12 banks, they went and said, no, we're all secure. And then they came back and was like, okay, let's get them then. Let's like the negotiators probably on the phone with a smirk on his face, like, yeah, 50,000. Yeah, you gonna take it or not? You know, like, seriously, right? Because like they had to have gone and checked out those 12 banks and been like, hey, are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? And everybody was like, no, we're all secure here, right? Before they did that, because that number was so low for the amount of data that they were threatening that they had,
right?
You know what I mean?
And so specific, Unlike Evolve
use
Bank,
BMW. Do you want that one?
I think those other 12 banks, unlike Evolve Bank, probably have better cybersecurity departments. So they all probably checked into their stuff and like, no, we're good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a troll. Like, they're trolling. I'm interested in how that negotiation process actually works, just in general, because you hear more and more about these negotiators, like who trained them, where do they get their credentials from? Like, I'd be more interested in that coming out of this article. Like, that's kind of a mystery in itself too. Like, how do I become a ransomware negotiator? Right?
I would imagine I would imagine it's somebody with law enforcement. I would say it's
from the federal side.
Yeah, from the federal side.
Yeah,
from the private side, usually. usually CISO if it's a ransomware
Yeah.
or something like that. Is
Like
Right.
that
hostage
team?
negotiation.
But even then, how are
Yeah.
they learning those skills, right? Like, what have they learned, or what do they have in their pocket to be like,
Yeah.
I'm qualified to negotiate this. You know what I mean? I'm curious about that now, Ryan. Like, that's probably gonna be something I look up today. I'm gonna spend some time looking into
Yeah.
that.
So
Like, hey,
YouTube rabbit
So
hole.
if you are a ransomware negotiator and you're listening to this, or you know one,
Hey.
hit me up. I'd like to have you on the show to talk about it because that's I find that fascinating. But
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
with all that being said, yeah, definitely hit up all the websites that go by our name. Hit us up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. You can find Chris on LinkedIn as Chris Abacon, spelled A Bacon. You can find Daniel Acevedo as his name as well on LinkedIn. Yeah, hit us up, connect, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay safe, stay secure.